what Enterprise really needed, Clay, was they needed lawyer Martok. And now they've got him, and he's ready to go. And he's here. He's returned. He's pretty much Martok in this episode, isn't he? J.G. Hertzler playing Martok, just with a different job.
Yeah, it's this episode in general was really great for voices. All three of the Klingons with main speaking roles had fantastic voices. However, I actually got confused a bit because Martok and the other guy, the other lawyer, both look and sound very similar. So they kept cutting to the other guy, and he'd be like, "This human is guilty." And I'm like, wait a minute, is this like some sort of weird like mix 'em up strategy he's going for, where he's like, all he's really guilty of is love or something? But no, it was just the wrong guy. I got them mixed up.
Just playing a little bit of lawyerly games there, leading you down one path, and then he kind of does that in this one, where he says Archer is guilty of being a good person.
Yeah, he does get there eventually. But when he started that right away, I was like, ooh, this is a bold strategy. I hope it pays off.
We're going to be talking about Judgment. Let's take a break. We're going to play a clip from the episode. We'll come back and break it down.
You stand accused of conspiring against the Klingon Empire. How do you respond?
I'm not guilty.
When this tribunal convenes tomorrow, you will be given a chance to prove your innocence. If you cannot, there is only one punishment.
Judgment is the 19th episode of the second season of Star Trek Enterprise. It came out on April 9th, 2003. It is the first in the three of the Archer's Trial by the Klingons arc. Teleplay goes to David A. Goodman. Story credit goes to Taylor Elmore and David Goodman. Directed by James L. Conway. In-universe date specifically is unknown, but it's 2152. In this episode, Archer is charged by a Klingon tribunal for helping rebels try to escape the Empire. So it's basically Undiscovered Country's courtroom scene turned into an episode. Is this an homage or is this a ripoff?
It's funny. I didn't even consider that until you brought it up.
It's pretty much identical to how they shot the Undiscovered Country's courtroom scene. I think they actually share lines of dialogue between the two of them too.
Oh, that stinks because I really like this one. And I don't know.
I think this is an homage. I think this is a very good episode, and I think it's more of an homage than it is a ripoff of that scene. But this is, in my opinion, this is one of the strongest Enterprise episodes we've seen so far to this point.
I would agree. Yeah, definitely.
But again, it's Archer under trial. The main, if we're gonna maybe not pick nits, but we're going to come up with a problem. I'm not exactly sure how they captured Archer in the first place to bring him into trial.
Yeah.
Because he gets away from Duras in the beginning, so it's unclear how they actually arrest him at some point.
That's a really good point. I was more focused on how kind of like easy it is to pay someone to break you out of Klingon prison, which
thematically relevant though, because they were hinting during this episode that the Empire is becoming corrupt in those ways. Yes. So though I have a slight problem with they just walk out the front door as their escape plan, but I like the idea of a bribe happening that pays off a Klingon, because when Reed tells him that line, Kolos, I think is his lawyer's name, also gives kind of like he can't believe that it's come this far for the Empire. It's a nice little touch. I am a little hazy on the fact that they walk out the front door in front of guards who have been tasering them the entire time, and there's no problem getting out.
Like the drop-off ship is just
parked out front.
The guy's having a cigarette out front.
It's like George Clooney coming out in the opening of Ocean's 11, just walks out to Brad Pitt sitting there ready to take him away.
Yeah, I do also like that it continues the running gag of when you need to break Archer out of jail, you send in Reed wearing a kooky disguise, like he's a agent from Get Smart or something. He
should have the Mission Impossible rubber masks that he just rips off every. And Archer should always give the Lucille Bluth to that Private Dick that she gets always. What's that guy's name?
Gene Parmesan.
Gene Parmesan. He should always react like that to him. How come you liked Judgment?
I just thought it was really strong. I thought the story was good. I liked the multiple points of view they were playing with. I thought all of J.G. Hertzler's stuff was really good. The angle that they were playing about him, where I really like the monologue he has about who he is as a Klingon, and how Klingons are not all warriors and stuff. And my father was a shoemaker or whatever it is.
His father was a teacher.
Yes,
I was like, that's fine. He goes, my mother was a biologist. I said, you're pushing it a little bit, I think, with the biologist.
Bit of believability there. Like, they both lived in Cambridge for 15 years.
Extremely well educated.
Donated to NPR a lot.
They are the liberal elite of Klingon society. Are Kolos's parents. Full professorships. None of this assistant professor bullshit. They're going all the way up to a full professor.
They had a wonderful farm share that they participated in.
I like Judgment. I think it does pretty much everything well that it's trying to do, unlike a lot of Enterprise episodes. I like the set. It's remarkable what happens when you bring in quality guest actors to Star Trek. That's always been something we've noticed, and it always tends to be true. Even with, not that this episode has middling material, but even with the middling material, if you bring someone in, what I think is interesting about J.G. Hertzler, and the other attorney is also good. He just doesn't have as much screen time as this guy.
Judge is good too.
And
they really got their money out of that gavel thing.
Yes, the sparking ball with his metal hand that he has to use to hold it because he's burned off his real hand. I think that's from the Undiscovered Country as well.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. What I like about Hertzler is that he made me kind of realize that a lot of the characters on Enterprise, both the main cast and the guest stars to this point, have kind of lacked an energy level to them. Like they don't go broad in the way that I think that Star Trek kind of needs sometimes. And Hertzler is basically just playing Martok again, as we said at the start. But it's a level of energy that I feel the show doesn't always do. Like it always has much more of a laid back, kind of low key, generic military commander guy come in, and it's like there's not a real presence in the scenes with anybody. And I thought that he did as much as anything in this episode to really elevate it and make it go and make you believe that this guy was actually a Klingon. Like I compare him to the guy who plays the Vulcan ambassador, Soval, the terrible Vulcan.
Sure.
And they're different species, so they should be different with each other. But Soval brings nothing to the Vulcan role. It's just this flat energy, even though he's angry all the time. And Hertzler really just elevates it just by like inhabiting a Klingon and making the Klingons play up as their Shakespearean sort of want to do. And I thought he was good. It elevates everything when you have energy like that.
Yeah, it's I guess it shouldn't be surprising that the best guest stars tend to be the ones who have been on Star Trek before.
Yeah.
The ones who, like Hertzler or Jeffrey Combs, who are used to, I don't know if it's that they're used to the makeup or they're just used to the world or what, they just know how to project through it and bring good, charismatic performances with them, as opposed to, you got the guy from Quantum Leap there who's just like, what if I'm an alien commander, but I'm just exasperated and I'm just kind of like,
a lot of exasperation. Why? Same with Kanamar.
What are we gonna do?
Same with Kanamar, the lead villain.
You can't just escape from jail. Alien jail.
Follows you everywhere. The Klingons are good at it, and this is I like the Klingon court. I think is a nice set. I think that how they act here, like, I think the biggest conundrum I have when I'm thinking about this one is how strict I have to be to understand Klingon society. So in some ways, this actually undoes the Klingons, because what I like about the Klingons is I like their sort of how they're portrayed in the courtroom, which is that they're orderly but chaotic at the same time. Like it's a courtroom of yelling and things like that. So they're this warrior culture that believes in a system of ethics, but they're also just sort of crazy at the same time. And the reason that the biologist line strikes me as funny is that I was like, are they pushing the Klingons a little bit too much? Like at what point, I'm totally open to the Klingons having a society that I have not seen, because we're used to seeing their warriors in space who are fighting everything. We're used to seeing the military. But do I care enough about Star Trek representing reality that I'm like, where do the Klingon farmers come from? Like, what are they doing out there? I don't know if I actually care about that really. Like I don't need their world to be totally realistic. And if you push them too hard, they become Cardassians in this direction. If you push them as there's a kind of military takeover of their society, that's the Cardassians to me. And I think that you should keep them a little bit separate from each other. Yeah,
they tend to have, the Klingons have always felt like, even though they were the first or second, second alien race, or the most popular next to the Vulcans.
Yep. After the Romulans too. They were introduced after the Romulans, yeah.
Well, or even the Romulans are just, at least Vulcans were bad, but at least when they were created. But the Klingons have always seemed to be a culture of contradictions, and I don't know if that's due to the way it's built or just the fact that the writers never seem to pin down exactly what they want to do, because they've got the honor thing, and that was kind of what they were just flying by the seat of their pants with the Klingons for a long time. And so I think when you start,
TOS didn't even have that. TOS just had them as they were just generic bad guys.
Right. Yeah, they were just
feisty aliens,
generic brown-skinned villains.
Maybe that's what Enterprise is going towards. They're vaguely militaristic bad guys, and Enterprise says we need more of that stuff. And then it was just TNG that really, and Ron Moore in particular, who developed them into this honor culture that I would say one of the greatest serialized arcs that Star Trek has done is show through TNG and then into DS9 the contradictions of how an honor culture would actually exist in real life.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes them really interesting, is because they do have this, what seems to be a cut and dried way of life, which is bound by honor. But the minute you step into a story involving them, the good ones anyway, show you why that's sort of hypocritical in the way that they actually act.
Yeah,
like if they're bound by honor and you can just stand up to your commander and kill him and take his post, why do they have judges at all? Why do they have society at all? How does their society work? And then you get into that.
How do they get anything done if it's based on just fighting each other all the time?
Well, teachers and biologists, clearly.
Yeah, right.
I think that's actually the fun of the Klingons, is because they take this super serious honor thing and they always tend to undercut it with a more realistic approach to things, which kind of points the Klingons out as being kind of hypocritical.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do kind of agree with what you're saying. I think may have been last episode, I made a reference to At the Mountains of Madness, the H.P. Lovecraft story.
Yep.
And previously, what I said was one of my favorite parts. Conversely, one of my least favorite parts is that he goes out of his way to, pages upon pages, like break down the entire society of these plant alien creatures down to like their farming practices and shit. And I'm just like, I do not care about any of this. I just want to see what the monsters do. I don't need to know about their slave culture. And so I think you can go a little bit too far, where it's like, okay, you're getting a little too cute. I think this one rides the line with that, because I do really like, for lack of his other name, Martok's speeches.
Kolos, yeah. His name is Kolos, yeah.
Kolos. I like his speeches a lot. And I like where he comes down at the end as well, where he ends up, while also recognizing the hypocrisy of their honor-based culture, he makes a choice based on honor to stay there.
Yeah.
Even though no one's telling him to do that, it's not part of the Klingon way specifically. It's just his own personal honor doesn't allow him to leave.
Yeah. His perception of what Klingon honor should represent to them instead of this kind of attacking everything that moves ideology. Yeah, the Klingons, I think that Ron Moore was onto something. Just the Klingons function best as a vaguely Shakespearean Hamlet type story where there's like this thing that's going on, but the actual story is underneath it, and none of them seem to be aware of what the problem is, the contradiction that's working against them. And that was also helpful when you have to portray that appropriately. You kind of need the Worf character who is outside of it and able to look in at them. And Enterprise doesn't have the benefit of having a Worf character in it, so they have to do it a little bit more maybe unsubtly here, where, you know, he's talking about his biology mother and his teacher father or whatever. I do like it. I'm not anti the Klingons being fleshed out that way, and I think that this is one of the better episodes. This is definitely the best Klingon episode, and I was looking back, there's been like 5 Klingon episodes in Enterprise, which surprised me because they're all terrible.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's Broken Bow, Unexpected, the one where they get stuck in the gas giant, and I think there's one more, so this is maybe the 5th one. And they haven't done anything with them, and this is the first time that they've actually mixed it up a little bit. They've sort of redone the Undiscovered Country again. But it's nice to have an Enterprise episode that's actually kind of conceptually about something, something that there's a little bit of a point to it beyond the last one we watched was the Space Wisp episode, which is just like such a standard Star Trek episode, and this one felt a little bit different. Even going so far as I thought that this one was a good shot of the show, kind of recognizing that Archer's an idiot in some ways, like that his aw shucks, I just want to do the right thing is actually kind of backfiring in a lot of ways. Like that's been the plot, not the plot, but it's been the takeaway from so many of the first and second season episodes. And here it's nice to have Kolos actually call him an idiot at the very end when Archer says that he wants to do something. But Archer works well in this episode in and of himself. This is probably what Bakula is best sorted to do, be the kind of normal guy who's put out and put into a bad situation. And he doesn't really have a lot of speech making. He doesn't have a lot of shaking his fist at things. But so he's good in this.
Yeah, he gets, excuse me, he gets the opportunity to really like lean into the more statuesque elements of being a Star Trek captain where they're like, how do you plead? And he's like, not guilty.
The camera's below him, so he's slightly looking up.
I can't do an appropriate upshot with my computer camera. Maybe I'll get a second one I can cut to for
dramatic lighting shots. No, he is well constructed for this one, and I think that it's a nice use of serialization on the show's part too, where they're calling up the things that he's done previously for the Klingons are part of the reason why he gets a lighter punishment. The other guy is interestingly named Duras, which is a callback to Worf's storyline, where Duras was the guy who betrayed the Klingons and killed Worf's father.
I thought that name sounded familiar. Is it not? It's not supposed to be the same guy, obviously. Though, right?
I don't think they make that connection. It might just be a reference to it, but. Yeah. He'd be old enough. Other guy,
Duras is a very popular name in Kronos for 200 years.
You look at all the baby websites, and it's number 1 for like 4 years running.
It's weird, though, that you don't see any kids these days named Martok. It's like nobody calls their kids Martok anymore.
Yeah.
It's very cyclical,
He's a war hero. I see so many Wayuns and just no Martoks.
My son has three Wayuns in his kindergarten class. It's insane. You're writing out birthday party invitations, and it's like, is this Wayun F or is this Wayun F?
What's the address for this guy? I think outside of that, this is also, I was just looking, apparently
twice as hard because they're all clones of each other, so they look identical too.
That's true. Not as bad as the Changeling kids, but they are equally difficult to get around. I guess Goodman was doing commentary on this one. I wouldn't have made this connection, but I was just reading about what he said on the commentary track for it, that his inspiration came from, this is the era of preparing for Iraq's invasion, and his inspiration for it was he was considering what people think of America when the only interaction they have with Americans is the warrior society that we send over to places, and like what they must, how other cultures would view Americans as a whole when their only interaction is with the soldiers who are either fighting a war in there or, you know, doing whatever, like peacekeeping, or being basically the police of their society that are uninvited and things like that, even if they're doing good work. So they do that here. It's an attempt to expose the Klingons. I do come back to the fact that if it's too much in this direction, it's just the Cardassians, and I think the Cardassians are better at that thing, and maybe that's limiting to the Klingons, but I don't know. It's a redundant point, but I think it's like the main point of the episode, and I'm not sure if I really agree with it.
Yeah, I like to look at it, I think, more as I should say less as a critique of it is a critique of the Klingons, but I like to look at it less of a critique as the Klingons as a whole and more as a story about Kolos, is that his name?
Kolos, yeah.
Kolos and his interpretation and reaction to their society and stuff like that. So I think if you think of it more localized to him and his interactions with the justice system and his interactions with Archer, I think it stands on its own pretty well.
Yeah. It's what's kind of funny about it is that I think we've commented on the show about the Klingons are an empire. They call themselves an empire. To my knowledge, this is the first time we've ever seen them have subjugated species in their empire.
Right.
Which is, I think we've even talked about, like, that would be the way that this would have to go. They have to just be conquerors who capture places and then take all the stuff. So I like seeing that. That feels like it's a totally natural thing to do. What it actually got me thinking about was Discovery, interestingly, because I was thinking of T'Kuvma in the first couple episodes of Star Trek Discovery and the portrayal. The first early portrayal of the Klingons, and I think that all anybody ever talks about for the Discovery Klingons is how they look and how they talk and things like that. I actually really like the representation of the Klingons in early Discovery. Before Core. No, what is the guy's name before? What was his name?
Start pulling the heads off babies and stuff.
Well, yeah, before they start doing that, and what is it? Laurel? Is that her name? Laurel becomes the Empress and stuff like that. T'Kuvma was really great, and I really think that the concept of the Vulcan hello, which is just to shoot the shit out of the Klingons before they have a chance to say anything, makes more sense than a lot of the stuff that I see here in this. So when I'm in a post-Discovery era, when I'm watching the courtroom scenes, I'm wondering if the Klingons are on shaky ground when his defense is not a celebration of violence. You know what I mean? Like if it's like Archer didn't mean to hurt us, he's not our enemy, doesn't strike me as particularly Klingon in a lot of ways. But the Discovery approach of, if you want to show the Klingons who you are, you just have to shoot at them immediately, and then they'll respect you for trying to do that. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, because you would think one argument you should be able to make is that Archer, with an inferior ship, managed to defeat the Klingon ship, but also spared the life of the crew by not blowing the ship up. So why is this person who clearly is the more superior warrior than our second gunnery officer guy
his demotion, post-demotion,
former captain, why is Archer being punished for being a superior warrior kind of thing?
Right.
And I guess that kind of falls into the contradiction of the Klingons as a group.
Yeah. I was also thinking that I would have just,
because you could argue that I guess it depends. I was going to say you could argue that the fact that he didn't shoot first is a sign of honor or something, but then it's like, well, then that kind of negates the idea of the Vulcan hello thing, but whatever.
Yeah. Obviously this came out before Vulcan hello. I think that, for everything that we shit on Discovery, I think that's an actually better take on the Klingons in a lot of ways. Yeah. And, a great failing, while going back to Enterprise and doing this sort of prequel thing of fleshing out the Klingons, I'm actually most annoyed that Discovery didn't flesh out the Make Kronos Great Again storyline, which was seemed like that's because that's kind of what this episode is too, in some ways, except it's a more, I wouldn't say it's more anything because Discovery didn't touch on it enough to actually draw a point about what Discovery is trying to say about it. But this guy's trying to make Kronos great again. And that's what the T'Kuvma was trying to do. And I think it's just nice. It's been a consistent theme amongst the Klingons. And I guess the problem with it is that I don't really know where their central sense of honor sits, like how you would define what they consider to be honor. Because I always imagine in this episode, Archer should stand up and be like what kind of warriors are scared of the truth? That would have been my thing if I was Archer. Be like, cool. Be like, are you scared of the truth that I'm about to say, and that's why you won't let me speak? Just really insult their sense of what they can handle. He doesn't go down that line though, but that's just something I was considering with the way that they portray these Klingons anyway.
Yeah, the idea of the Make Kronos Great Again thing is fun to me because it seems like a natural rallying point for a group like the Klingons to reclaim the greatness of their empire kind of thing. But the inherent thing you are admitting by going that route with your argument to the people is that your government or world or society is not currently great.
Right. And
that could be a very interesting conflict in a group like the Klingons, who are so honor bound and so have a sense of Klingon exceptionalism.
Yeah, they're supremacists. They believe in they believe they are the God's given people or whatever.
I do. Going back to the Empire thing though, I do love Star Trek's use of the word Empire, because it does not really ever amount to anything outside of the planet that they're on. And I remember in Picard, one of the smarmy arguments going around was, well, if it's the Romulan Empire, then shouldn't they actually be ruling multiple planets? Did you make that argument? I apologize for doing the smarmy voice then, but it's one of those things.
It's my main point about that series.
Well, no, it's like you never see them being empires of anything else. I don't know.
Except for Nemesis,
have extra planets they can go to.
Yeah, Nemesis is the Remans are the only example of something that they have, but
noticeably absent in Picard. How come they weren't there advocating for the Romulans?
No one saved them, android or not. They weren't saved at all. Yeah, Empire is just shorthand for bad guys.
Right.
It's the term you use to define them as bad people.
But to your point, I think it is interesting to see them act like an empire within their own planet.
Yeah.
I wasn't totally clear on those wayfish aliens they were oppressing.
Mm-hmm.
Were they not native to Kronos? Is that the deal?
Yeah, they're just aliens who had settled on a planet, and then the Klingons found the planet and took all their stuff. And
so
they're trying to find a new place.
In this case, the Klingons are acting in a intergalactic sense.
Yeah,
as far as Empire goes. Okay,
they're expanding into other planets and conquering it. And T'Pol has that line later on. Well, we could put them on a new planet, but the Klingons are just going to start expanding into that planet that they end up onto.
Someone should tell T'Pol not to worry, because they don't, and they never bring it up again.
Well, there is I think there's a Klingon Earth war post Enterprise before TOS that we've never
really?
seen.
Oh.
Yeah, so what this series should be doing is driving towards that
2022 season on CBS All Access.
That's right. I mean, now we're getting rumors that Sisko's going to come back. Julian Bashir is going to get a show. Why not? Just bring back the Klingon Civil War.
I want to see old man Bashir as the dean of a medical school on Kronos.
And O'Brien would be the dean of the engineering section because he left DS9 at the very end to become a teacher at Starfleet Academy.
That would be amazing.
And his wife is a biologist, a plant biologist.
Wait a minute. What if O'Brien and Keiko are actually the adoptive parents of
Kolos,
and that show is about how they go back in time and end up back here raising this Klingon child to be an advocate.
And when Molly's favorite thing to hum was that cello song that's playing in the Discovery episode, and so it's all going to link together. I'm very happy. That's pretty much all I have to say about Judgment. It was kind of rare to walk into an Enterprise episode where I was like really engrossed by it the whole way through. I think the ending is what's interesting. I was looking production-wise. The ending feels a little bit rushed. It almost feels like they should get to Hoth a little bit earlier than they do. But the sacrifice and everything works. It's kind of rushed in the sense that they just run out and they go off and the guy stays behind. I like that. I like all that, though. I guess originally the second part of this was supposed to be Canamar. So it was going to be a two-parter where Archer and whoever rescues him, it's Reed in this case, but it would have to be Trip if you were to do it, would get on that ship and escape from the prison thing, and they would be on the Klingon prison transport or whatever. They decided that they liked that idea as a standalone thing, and they didn't want to stretch this into two parts, so they kind of split them up. But that was the original idea as to what to do. It would probably make it seem like it was a little bit slower. I would imagine that Kolos probably would have run off with them in that case and then died in the second part of it or something, just to get rid of that character.
Yeah, that's... Sorry, there's a weird sound coming from my house. That is an interesting idea. I'm kind of happy. I'm happy they didn't do that because I do really like the last scene with Kolos. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was looking at the clock and I was like, "There's like 5 minutes left," and they're having a scene on the mining planet.
Yeah.
That's a lot to introduce and get out of in the last 5 minutes of your show. Unless you do what you do here, where Reed just shows up and pulls his hood off. He's like, "Come on, let's go."
Come on.
And they just go.
They do have the nice scene of Archer stands up for him by attacking the Klingon guard. Yes. Like that. That's really all the time that you need to do that to get across what's been developed between the two of them. They have time for their little handshake and run off.
It did go a long way though to breaking the formula for me of the show, because when he got sentenced, I legitimately was like, I don't know, how do you get out of this? There's not a lot of time left.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are they going to keep him there? Is this going to be a two-parter? I mean, it doesn't seem like, I think most other shows would have the decision reversed in the court kind of thing. And then you kind of have, that was a close moment as far as that goes. But no, they sentence him. And
Klingon judge just goes, JK, credits roll. It's over. No, it's
I've been won over by your humanity, and I will reject all of the tenets of our judicial system because I think you, Archer, are a swell guy.
Swell, super swell guy. Yeah, he's I think it's a good ending, and Rura Penthe is the moon that blows up, I think. Right? That's Praxis or something. There's some connection here. Rura Penthe has been.
You talking about Santana albums? What are we talking about?
My favorite track off it. What is Rura Penthe? Rura Penthe is the penal planetoid used by the Klingons. It's just where they go in Undiscovered Country. That makes sense.
Oh, it's the same place. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same prison. Okay. Praxis is the moon that exploded. I guess this is a different place.
They don't have that big blue guy with his nutsack on his thigh in this one.
I like Undiscovered Country. I don't remember tremendous amounts of it for some reason. It's like the best Star Trek movie that I don't watch ever. You know? That's kind of the way about it.
Yeah.
So you thought the ending was a little bit rushed. That's about it.
Yeah. It's tough. I think it's just because, getting him out of there seems too easy. Like you said, I think it is saved by the effect that it has on Kolos and what it says about the Klingon culture. But yeah, it seems like a lot to get into and get out of in the last 5 minutes of your show. That being said, do I want 15 minutes of them on this mining colony while we're cutting back to the Enterprise, coming up with crazy schemes to get? No, I don't really give a shit about that. So yeah, I think in line with the story they're telling, it works. But it does feel a tad rushed. Yeah,
it is tough because I don't want to spend any more time there than I do, and I think it's necessary that they go there. It's So I think that the thing that makes it most effective is they developed Kolos and Archer's relationship enough prior to them getting there that like the bad decision of this script would be they bond once they're there in the ice planet, you know? Yeah. They don't have that post-trial scene where they're talking to each other about their biologist mother or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think it's just strange because like this feels like an episode of Law and Order, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you very rarely in Law and Order get a coda sequence where you go to you hang out in jail with the guy for like 10 minutes. It's you usually get that scene at the end where they cut back to the prosecutor's office and they, it ends somberly while they're having a drink or something. Or courtroom dramas tend to not expand outside the courtroom. Essentially, is what it is. Like even if you are working on things outside the courtroom, the story itself generally ends in the courtroom. So to have them completely shift over into this new environment and setting is a little strange, but I think it works well enough. I don't think it undercuts the good stuff in the episode.
We'll call it a day right there. Let's take a break. We're going to play another clip from the episode. We'll come back, give our final thoughts, read some patron thoughts, and that'll be it for Judgment.
Come on.
I can't go with you.
Why not?
I've been an advocate for 50 years. And I've spent the last 20 of them standing in that tribunal, playing my part, holding my tongue. And all the while, honorable men were being sent to places like this without the benefit of a defense. And then I was assigned your case. You told me that on your world, a few courageous people made a difference. I'm not sure I have the courage. But I know I'll never be able to restore honor to my people, living as a fugitive.
Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed the show enough that you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/thepenskyfile. A couple dollars a month gets you extra podcasts. You get to vote on the polls about what we discuss. We've got Christmas in Connecticut and Attack the Block coming up this month as extra content. So a Christmas thing and then a sci-fi movie. That's it. It's also a great way to just show your appreciation if you have any appreciation for what we're doing here at all. Thank you very much. Patreon.com/thepenskyfile. And as always, a special thank you.
If you ever wanted to learn how 1940s Christmas farce, Christmas in Connecticut, connects to Arnold Schwarzenegger, become a patron and find out.
That's right. Do not look it up on Wikipedia. Just become a patron.
Don't cheat. Pay us money to tell it to you.
Go to Wikipedia, give them $3, and then come over to Patreon and give us $3.
They seem to need it. They've got a lot of... Every time I go there now, it's like a page and a half of please give us money.
Yep.
I haven't yet. I should, but I haven't.
I did it once. I have given Wikipedia once, or the sheer amount I use it, but I don't know what the... It's just it's the modern problem of pulling out your wallet for online stuff still doesn't seem right. It's still a little bit clunky. It's not... If someone had something, I was walking down the road and they had something at $3 in cash, I would just hand it to them without thinking about it. But the credit card online seems difficult, and it's not even like a security thing.
Yeah, well, it's for Wikipedia. It's strange because I think in the back of my head, Wikipedia still feels like a less than above board operation, even though it is something that is essentially ubiquitous to culture at this point.
Yeah.
I still have this thing in the back of my head where it's like, well, if I give them $2, they might get my Social Security number.
It's the thing of you can't win an argument by posting a Wikipedia article. you know,
Right,
it's just
yeah.
it's not hard science.
And
or
let me
hard
tell you,
data.
kids. Let me tell you, kids. When your professors in college say don't use Wikipedia as a source, don't listen to them, because I did it and I made it out of college just fine.
All the sources are at the bottom. Just follow the sources
Yeah.
that are in the Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
They've collected it for you.
I'm far enough out of school where I don't think they can revoke my diploma for saying this, but the last paper I ever wrote in college, this is art school, by the way, so I wasn't exactly writing papers all the time, was on a book that it was a nonfiction book about Orientalism that I did not read. And 11th hour, I'm like, how the fuck am I going to write this paper? I don't know why. This is a book that I'd never heard of. I've never heard anybody mention it. There was an in-depth breakdown of that book on Wikipedia that I used as my sole source, and it worked out just fine.
Copy paste. Special thank you goes to our Captain Tier supporters: Ben Douglas, Tark Latif, Joint Mango, Noel Gallagher, Mike Burnett, Matthew Ross, Angie Sherlock, Cardinal Doomsday, Nathan Elliott, Samuel Custer, Matt Cutler, Nick Sergi, Grim Santo, Sean, Christian Pouch, Bradley Killens, Dwayne Hackett, Chris Tinsley, Darth Moss, Kevin Reyes, Jordan Cooper, Vol13 Hero, Rune Vendler, HH28, Stefan Minton, Nick the Rat, Derek Zajac, Paul Orozco, Jacob123, Poindexter G, Groppler John Zorn, Mike Harris, Eric Santuan, Kevin Lowry, Captain Brazen, Jakey's Gamer, Patrick Seba, Corey Martin, William Scheisler, Soylent Blue, Zane Majors, and Dave Davies. Thank you very much, everybody, for supporting the show on patreon.com/thepencil.
He actually just introduced himself to me on Twitter. It is Dave
He did,
Davies
yeah.
from the
Yeah, he
Kings,
did.
yes.
He did, yeah. I was also on that. Here, let me get this
Looking
first.
good. Looking good for pushing it's 80 at this
80.
point.
Tweeting appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have some comments on Judgment. Noel Gallagher is the only patron who correctly spelled judgment. That's a little bit of trivia for everybody. So I'm going out of my way to correct the
Oh, did we
Control
get
F.
Noel? I didn't hear you say it.
Noel Gallagher is now following
Excellent.
the podcast.
Great.
Yeah.
Oof. Better get separate rooms ready for when Liam shows up.
Yeah, all these you'd assume well-to-do bands only have one member at a time support our Patreon.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately,
know.
it'd be nice if all of them could.
I'll be honest. If we can finally put Dave Davies and Noel Gallagher, and Dave Davies can take Noel Gallagher to task for how much they ripped off the Kinks in Oasis, then that's going to be fun to watch too.
It's a podcast in and of itself. So I'll read Noel's comment here first with judgment spelt correctly. This episode warms the cockles of my undiscovered country-loving heart, but maybe has more in common with the DS9 episode Tribunal. Going up against Klingon Judge Judy and Executioner is finally a plot befitting to Archer, and the episode is actually interested in delving into Klingon society in a fresh way. How was Archer captured, and why are they still in Klingon territory after 2 years of flying in the opposite direction? Who cares when you've got J.G. Hertzler giving a best guest star performance on the show so far? 19th episode is a little late to finally begin the season's serialized plot. That's right, the Klingons return, but I like this one a lot. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, this is a great episodic episode in that if you've been watching the show as we have episode to episode, yeah, you end up going like, what? Why are they anywhere near the Klingons at this point? But if you're just dipping into Enterprise, this is a great standalone episode. Although it does not answer the question of how they captured Archer, as you said, which seems to be like a glaring plot hole. Did they ask it nicely?
Yeah, I mean, he had to have not been on Enterprise somehow. They don't even really touch on it at all.
Let's get 6 episodes on CBS All Access about that.
It's a good short track. Get a back here. And now we'll go to the patrons who incorrectly spelled judgment and made me do this twice over. Matt Ross says, first thing we do is kill, although to be honest, I would have spelled judgment the wrong way as well. It feels weird to leave off the E that's in the middle.
I was going to say, is it no E?
No E, it's Judgment is judgment.
That's so strange. I guess I've never really thought about that before.
Matt Ross says, the first thing we do is kill all the bad lawyer court scripts in Star Trek. Guess there's a long road getting on to that. I can see how this went. Apologies to Clay. Hey, Brandon, we still got those Star Trek 6 sets and stock footage. Let's use that crap. I hear J.G. Metzler is free, too. I think it's Hertzler. I think this is
J.G.
a typo.
Metzler?
He's my favorite car salesman.
Hopefully that's Berman's ignorance of what actors' names actually are.
maybe that's Matt's joke.
Get us the Metzler guy.
Was the Met. And then they edited
one of them's a Klingon. One of them is my accountant. I can't ever remember which one it is.
And then they edited it from there. The ending is ridiculous. Don't leave a death trap so that no one will know you died. Objection sustained 1 out of 5. Wow, interesting.
Wow.
I thought his comments were more lighthearted fun at the start, but apparently not.
I did notice that this episode did not feature Berman and Braga on story by credit at all, which seems to be happened few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
But you could feel his presence in this one. Because there was that nice shot. Oh, if we're gonna have the Klingons, can we get the boob window back? just give me one where you just get a nice shot right down the pipe.
Maybe. Well, the camera's under Archer. We'll just get some nice upward booby shot there. Point Extra G says, Judgment, this is the way that nostalgia should be used. Borrowing the trial and Rura Penthe from the Undiscovered Country is a nice callback, but those elements by themselves without a compelling story would just be hollow. The story of how the Klingon legal system has become corrupt is a story that works on its own, completely divorced from Star Trek VI's elements. It's not an immensely deep story, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit, and for some reason it makes me happy to see that even 200 years before TNG, the Duras family is still crap. Latte Librarian says, enjoyed this Klingon-focused episode a lot. Nice to know there are biologist Klingons out there doing their thing. 4 Bloodwine flasks out of 5. Archer's reactions to the...
I was just going to say, do you think, though, that like Klingon biologists are like when Homer tries to make food for Mr. Burns and he's just like, he's got his glasses on and his chef's hat and he's pouring one kind of cereal and then he pours the milk in and the bowl catches on fire and he's like, like they don't actually know about biology, but they're very early stages of biology where they're like, we've come to the conclusion that sickness is caused by tiny demons that get in through your butt. Now, in this PowerPoint, I will prove, like, is it that kind of thing?
No questions asked. I would imagine it's just a lot of dissection would be my idea of what a Klingon biologist would do, just to see the best ways to kill something.
We've dissected 5,000 Klingon citizens, and we've come to the conclusion that they all have bones.
You got to be sure. You got to have 99.9% effectiveness with bone discovery. Archer reacts badly to the Bloodwine in this when he drinks it, which is kind of funny because every other show that has ever done Bloodwine has shown everyone enjoying it quite a bit. I always thought that it was just a very easy alcohol to drink, which maybe doesn't make sense in Klingon context, but like Sisko was always just guzzling Bloodwine constantly, like whenever he was on doing a Klingon thing. So,
well, it's like you get used to it. Like it's first time you drink black coffee, but now by the time you become an adult, everybody's drinking black coffee.
Yeah. Where are you at in your coffee drinking? Do you drink black coffee? Or are you some pussy?
Black decaf.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've used up.
So you just like black water, basically.
Basically, yeah. No, I went hard in my early coffee days, and I can't do caffeinated coffee anymore. So usually what I drink now is in the summer I will get 3 shots of decaf espresso over ice.
Mm-hmm.
So then the hot espresso melts the ice, and you get like it's the strongest version of decaf coffee I've been able to come across. If you're looking for a solid decaf, 3 shots of decaf espresso over ice from Starbucks is very good.
Yep. No, I
Yeah, I go. It's that or like a ridiculous sugary coffee. I'm addicted to peppermint mochas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had a it's too long of a story. I'll come back to the coffee story, but it's my thing is just I have a little bit of cream in the first cup of the day. We make our own coffee, so it's like a little bit in the first, but I never add more cream when I refill the coffee. So my coffee becomes blacker the more that I go into it. And so I don't know why I add so little cream. I don't know why I think it's different to it. Really, I don't know what the cream does in a coffee.
I've noticed the different things you can add do very different things. Like I think if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've put anything in my coffee, but cream is heads and tails better than milk.
It is, yeah.
Milk just is disgusting in coffee. It doesn't change the taste. It doesn't change the texture. What the cream just makes your coffee like creamier, essentially.
Yeah.
That's all it's doing. But milk doesn't do that. And it also doesn't give you that like incredibly pleasant color. Like you have a big range of colors that you can go through if you're adding cream to your coffee. With milk, it's just like you've dumped a bunch of sand in. And it just turns it this like disgusting gray color that's not very appetizing.
Yeah, that overburnt pot of coffee color, that gray. Once it starts hitting that gray, it's in bad news. But it is true. It's like how you don't put much cream in the coffee, but cream is vastly different from milk in a coffee. It's just it's really surprising how much impact a little bit of cream has in a coffee.
Yeah. I've definitely gone through like what I imagine the kind of steps and orchestrations that like drug addicts end up going through to get the perfect thing, perfect thing they're looking for. I'm clearly not a drug addict. But like, I would put the cream in the cup first and then put the coffee on top of it, because if you do it the other way around, it cools the coffee off too much. So if you put the cream in earlier, then the cream has a little bit of time to like warm up. So then you don't end up with like a half hot cup of coffee that gets cold really fast.
How long are you leaving the cream out to warm up?
Not too long. Well, it depends. Like sometimes I'll put some hot water into the mug.
Yes.
Kind of like
I do that.
Like a teapot,
Yeah.
They
come out of the cabinet so cold these winter days.
Yeah. I learned that from The Prisoner when he goes through how to make an appropriate cup of tea. Yeah. By warming the pot first.
I blow into them occasionally if I'm rushed for time, like they're my hands and I'm outside and it's cold. Just like blow into the cup.
But I've gone through. I was once I switched over to decaf, I became a lot like I'm still am, but less so now, on the search for the best cup of decaf coffee I can manifest. Mm-hmm. So I went through French presses. I went through making drip coffee with espresso beans instead of just regular coffee. I went through everything, and now I'm at if I go out, I get espresso over ice, but at home I use Starbucks decaf, which is really good. It's the best like store brand decaf I've ever had.
Oh, interesting. Captain Brazen says, Judgment. Seeing as this is an episode I actually enjoyed from season 2 of Enterprise, I'm foregoing the writing of an average limerick poem summarizing the plot. Apologies and you're welcome. 2, seeing an early version of Klingon Courtroom in the prison planet of Aurora Penthe from the Undiscovered Country are both warm slices of nostalgia used in a fresh way that makes sense. 3, featuring J.G. Hertzler as the new Klingon is brilliant, and he mixes his old portrayal of Martok with his new character Kolos, an older Klingon of a different generation disgusted by his society's lack of honor. 4, Kolos discussing his society's shift of honor with young warriors fighting weaker foes for the Empire feels like a subtle commentary on the new U.S. soldiers at the time signing up to fight in Iraq after 9/11. 5, though not groundbreaking, it's the most enjoyable Klingon episode Enterprise has delivered so far. 4 life sentences to pickaxe heavy styrofoam ice blocks out of 5.
I like his new rhymeless verse approach, more freestyle to this one. I'm not saying I want everybody to do this, but wouldn't it be something if next week everybody's comments were written as the versions of the 12 Days of Christmas?
We still have time. We have one Christmas episode left, right? Do we have? We don't. Fuck ourselves. This is the last one. This is coming out next week on Tuesday. Tuesday. So this will not be in time.
Oh, damn it. I thought we had one more. Oh, balls.
Do it post Christmas for the next one. Whatever's after Judgment. I don't remember what it is, but everyone can do that. Give us your countdown. Thank you, Captain Brazen. What the fuck is the next one? That's it.
Keep in mind, you get 5 lines. I don't want the whole song.
Right. 5 lords leaping is the maximum number of lords that I want to see leaping about in this song.
Pick your favorite 5 numbers from the 12 Days of Christmas and go nuts.
Thank you very much, patrons, for leaving your comments about Judgment, Judgment. And we will be back with the next episode that you can leave your thoughts about, which is, I think it's Horizon, which is Travis Mayweather episode. I apparently didn't give my rating in the last episode, and people let me know about it on YouTube. So I gave a 3 to The Crossing. I'm just going to update that now so it's on the record. So me and you both gave a 3 to that one. What are you going to give Judgment?
I think I'm going to go 4 because I don't want to get too excited about this one and say it's a 5 just because it's like the best one I've watched in the past 18 weeks.
Yep.
But it's
is this the best episode of season 2 for you then?
I think so, probably. Yeah. Yeah. What are you going to do?
I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Yeah. It's probably the best episode of the season for me so far. Yeah, I liked Carbon Creek a little bit more than you, but yeah, I give this is a solid 4 for me. There's like no, I don't need to disguise it really. It's not a 5 just because I think that it's a little light or not impactful. It's just like it's very well done, which is the difference to me between the 5, which is like an exceptional standalone, really profound episode. This one's not profound to me. It's just good. So I'm going to give it a 4, and I'm happy with that. And it's definitely the best episode this season, I think, so far for me. Can't remember what the other 4s are this season. Carbon Creek, Stigma was a 4, the AIDS allegory one.
Yeah.
And then there's another one, Dead Stop, I think we gave. I think that's season 2, the one with the station that fixes you for free, but it steals your brain.
Jesus Christ, that's the same season?
Yeah, I think that's the season.
That was like 6 months ago.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Oh, my God. This year ever end.
YouTube commenters are concerned for your mental well-being. They're saying we need to get through Enterprise Season 2 a little bit faster than we are at this point. Discovery's going to end soon. So
I'll tell you guys, if Season 3 of this show that you guys seem to love is not the greatest season of Star Trek I've ever watched, I am going to be very upset.
Season 3 is super different, so we will have something to look forward to in terms of a difference, and we won't be competing with Discovery at that point either. So it'll seem a little bit more of a pickup pace. That's it. 4s for both of us for Judgment. Thank you very much for listening. Patreon.com/ThePensky File if you want to support the show. Much appreciated if you do so. And I guess that's it. Clay, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, we've got a new Rotten Heart Picture Show this week, our Christmas episode. We will be covering 1974's Black Christmas, which is a great early proto-slasher movie from Canada, directed by Bob Clark, director of such great films as Porky's 2, and A Christmas Story. So he's got quite a range in his very strange career. Good movie. Good movie.
And then there would be a new badass at some point down the line, probably in the past couple days that has happened.
Yes. If this is Christmas week, there will be a new badass next week. Which is, I believe, the return of Mr. Freeze. And we'll have a guest on for that one. Our final Bloody Hell Kickstarter backer will be joining us.
You must be near the end. It must be near the end of a badass. You must only have one left after that as well.
Yep. It's Mr. Freeze, the return of Mr. Freeze, and whatever the other episode is, I'm blanking on it. And then the following episode is the final episode of what is technically known as Batman the Animated Series, which is Batgirl Returns. We do that one, and I do a little bit of a kind of a series wrap-up thing. And then after that, we'll be doing Sub-Zero, the Mr. Freeze movie, and then moving into season 4, which is the new redesigned characters and
sneak peek of if you had a one word to describe revisiting Batman the Animated Series over again, what word would you choose?
One word.
2. If you need 2.
2 words. Still great.
Still great. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That is not going to get clicks. You say, what the? And then everyone.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Let's do that again. 2 words.
2 words.
Surprisingly bad, actually.
Yeah. So check out Clay and Sean ripping apart Batman the Animated Series, which is terrible at this point in 2020, as they close out that series.
Just everybody be ready for my 8-hour Cinema Sins video where I go all of the things wrong with all 80-something episodes of Batman the Animated Series.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. I guess this is our last Enterprise Christmas episode, and Discovery is coming out like fucking Santa through the chimney. It comes out on Christmas or something, so we're gonna have to
fucking assholes
throw the family out of the family won't be in the house anyway at this point.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be seeing my family on Christmas this year because of COVID. But if I had, just for the sake of doing this to be so mad, I would love to have to go, listen, everyone, Merry Christmas. Excuse me. I need to go watch Star Trek Discovery.
I'm on my iPad.
And then I have to podcast about it on Christmas Day because these people hate me.
It's weird. It's a little weird. They're not taking Christmas week off, isn't it? And they're also strapped for production because the trailers, I don't know if you've noticed, have had unfinished VFX and color correction in them.
Oh, I
to
haven't
this
noticed.
point.
No.
So they're going down to the wire. I would say take the holiday week off and maybe catch up, and then you'll be all set. So I don't know. Maybe they just want to get it, but it's on all access too. It's not like it's even got like network issues going against it where they need the schedule to stay. I don't know. Anyway, get ready for Discovery, Christmas morning.
I can't wait for the finale that takes place in the Matrix white void.
Right.
Where they're just talking for an hour. Honestly, it might be more enjoyable.
Here comes the architect. All right, guys. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll be back, so I won't say Happy New Year at this point, but Merry Christmas, and have a good holiday celebration with whatever you're doing. And we'll be back. Thank you for supporting the show, and thank you for listening. And then we'll be back with our next episode, which is Horizon, I believe. I'm going to do that without checking, so praise be to me. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.